The Four Forces, a story of lust, wrath, infatuation, and knowledge. In a bustling kingdom by the river, there lived a powerful king named Vishwanath. His kingdom was prosperous, his people happy, and his reign was known for its strength and wisdom. However, despite his outward success, King Vishwanath had an internal struggle that no one knew about. He was plagued by four powerful forces that had begun to erode his peace of mind and his rule. One evening, after a long day of court affairs, the king retired to his private chambers, deep in thought. He was troubled by a recurring feeling of unrest, and in his meditation, he reflected on the forces that had been consuming him. First, there was lust, a burning desire that had taken root in his heart. Despite having a beautiful queen and many comforts, Vishwanath found himself desiring more. He would see beautiful women in his kingdom, and his thoughts would wander towards them, bringing him a sense of emptiness and frustration. His desire was never truly satisfied, always growing stronger, as he sought more and more of what he could never fully attain. Second, there was infatuation, a blind attachment to fleeting pleasures. The king was often captivated by things that brought him short-term pleasure but no lasting happiness. He would indulge in fine foods, luxurious garments, and grand banquets, yet each time the initial satisfaction faded, he found himself empty again. His attachment to these things made him forget his deeper purpose as a ruler and a spiritual seeker. Third, there was wrath, a fiery anger that burned within him. Whenever someone disagreed with him or failed to meet his expectations, his temper would flare. He would often lash out at his ministers, his family, or anyone who stood in his way. His wrath would lead to regret, but by then, the damage had been done. His relationships soured, and his mind became clouded by hatred. Finally, there was the fleeting sense of happiness he would experience when engaging in worldly pleasures, but he realized that such happiness was shallow, temporary, and unsustainable. It never brought him lasting peace or fulfillment. He longed for a happiness that would be permanent, one that would be rooted in something deeper than material success. One evening, as Vishwanath sat by the river, reflecting on his thoughts, an old sage named Satyavrat arrived in the kingdom. He was known for his wisdom and his ability to dispel the illusions of worldly life. The sage, sensing the king's inner turmoil, approached him and sat by his side. "King Vishwanath," the sage said, "I can see that your heart is troubled. You are a ruler of great power, yet there are forces within you that cloud your mind and bring you suffering. Tell me, what is it that weighs so heavily on your soul?" The king sighed deeply. "Sage Satyavrat, I am consumed by four forces: lust, infatuation, wrath, and a false sense of happiness. Each of them pulls me in different directions, and none of them bring me true peace. I feel trapped in my own desires, and my anger keeps me from being the wise ruler I wish to be." The sage nodded wisely and spoke, "King Vishwanath, there is no disease more destructive than lust, for it leads to a never-ending cycle of desire, never satisfied, always hungry. It takes root in the mind, consuming you with cravings that can never be fully fulfilled, leaving only dissatisfaction in its wake." Likewise, the sage continued, "No enemy is more dangerous than infatuation, which blinds the heart to true values and causes one to chase after fleeting pleasures. When you are infatuated with things that do not bring lasting happiness, you forget the true purpose of your life and become lost in distractions. Wrath is like a fire that consumes everything in its path. It destroys relationships, clouds judgment, and leaves only regret in its wake. Just as a fire burns everything around it, so too does anger burn the soul." And finally, the sage said, his voice soft but clear, "There is no happiness greater than spiritual knowledge. True happiness comes from understanding the self and the nature of the world around you. When you are anchored in wisdom, you find peace that is not dependent on external circumstances. It is the kind of happiness that comes from within and lasts forever." Vishwanath, deeply moved by the sage's words, bowed his head in humility. "Sage, your words have opened my eyes. I see now that my desires, anger, and attachments have been the cause of my suffering. I must learn to conquer these forces and seek the happiness that comes from spiritual knowledge." Satyavrat smiled and placed his hand on the king's shoulder. "King Vishwanath, you have understood the essence of life. Remember, lust is a disease, infatuation is the enemy, wrath is a fire, and spiritual knowledge is the true happiness. Only by cultivating wisdom, controlling your desires, and practicing self-discipline will you find lasting peace." From that day forward, King Vishwanath began his journey towards self-mastery. He gradually let go of his attachments, curbed his anger, and focused on spiritual practices that brought him true peace. His kingdom flourished under his rule, and the people revered him not just as a king, but as a wise and compassionate leader. Moral of the story: there is no disease as destructive as lust, no enemy like infatuation, no fire like wrath, and no happiness like spiritual knowledge. By transcending the destructive forces of desire, anger, and attachment, and by embracing wisdom, we can find true peace and lasting happiness. Thanks for watching. If you found this video insightful, don't forget to give it a like, share it with others who might benefit, and subscribe to the channel for more valuable content like this. Hit the bell icon so you never miss an update. See you in the next video.